The Christmas tree lights twinkled cheerfully as my mother handed out presents, her smile bright and festive. It was Christmas Eve at the family house in Riverside, the colonial-style home where I'd grown up, where we gathered every year for the holidays. Before we open gifts, Mom said, settling into her favorite armchair, Dad and I have an announcement. My father stood beside her, looking uncomfortable but resolute. My older brother Tyler leaned forward with interest. His wife Ashley set down her wine glass. I sat on the sofa, curious but not concerned. We've made a difficult decision, Mom continued, her voice taking on that serious tone she used for important family matters. Your father and I are getting older. This house is too much to maintain. So we've decided to sell. Tyler nodded. Makes sense. When are you thinking? We've already accepted an offer, Dad said. Closing is scheduled for January 15th. I felt the room tilt slightly. You sold the house. We had to act quickly when the buyer came along, Mom explained. It's a developer. They're offering $850,000, which is well above market value. We couldn't pass it up. Where are you moving? I asked. Mom smiled. That's the other part of the announcement. We're moving to that retirement community in Arizona. Your Aunt Linda loves it there. We've already put a deposit on a condo. That's great, Tyler said. Good for you guys. When do you leave? February 1st, Dad said. Which means the house needs to be completely empty by mid-January. We'll be spending January packing and coordinating the move. I was processing this slowly. The house needs to be empty. Yes, Mom said, turning to me with that sympathetic expression that never meant anything good. Which means, Kira, you'll need to find a new place. We know this is sudden, but... Out by New Year, Dad interrupted. We need time to pack our things without working around your schedule. January is too tight otherwise. I stared at them. You want me out by New Year's? That's 1 week from today. We know it's fast, Mom said. But you're young, you're flexible. You can find an apartment. Tyler's offered to help you look, haven't you, Tyler? My brother nodded. I've already sent you some listings. There are some decent studios in the area. Around $1,200 a month. Not ideal, but starter places. Starter places, I repeated. You've been living here rent-free for years, Ashley added helpfully. This is actually a good push to get you independent. You're what, 31? Time to grow up a little. I looked at my family. My parents, proud and excited about their Arizona retirement. My brother, already mentally calculating how to help his poor younger sister find affordable housing. Ashley, smiling like she just offered sage life advice. None of them you. Where will you live until February? Asked Mom and Dad. If I move out by New Year and the house sells January 15th, where will you be for those 2 weeks? Tyler's offered to let us stay with him, Mom said. It'll be cramped, but it's temporary. The important thing is getting you settled before we start serious packing. Very generous of Tyler, I said quietly. Well, Tyler said with false modesty. Family helps family. You'd do the same for me. I stood up and walked to the den, where I kept my important documents in a locked filing cabinet. My family watched with curiosity as I returned with a folder. Before we continue planning my eviction, I said, I think there's something you should see. I opened the folder and pulled out the first document. The mortgage statement for 2847 Riverside Drive. Addressed to Kirchen. Payment amount, $2,847 monthly. Current balance, $127,000. Paid consistently for 6 years. I set it on the coffee table in front of my parents. Mom picked it up, confused. What is this? The mortgage statement, I said. For this house. I don't understand, Dad said. Our mortgage was paid off 10 years ago. Your mortgage was paid off 10 years ago, I agreed. This is my mortgage. The one I've been paying since I bought this house from you 6 years ago. The silence was sudden and complete. Tyler grabbed the document. This has to be fake. Mom and Dad own this house. Check the property records, I said calmly. County Registrar. This house has been in my name since December 2018. I purchased it from our parents for $425,000, which was slightly below market value at the time. Their gift to me was the discounted price. Ashley's mouth opened and closed. But, they live here. As my tenants, I said. paying $800 monthly, which doesn't even cover half the mortgage, but I gave them a family discount. Mom's face had gone pale. Kira, this isn't funny. It's not a joke. I pulled out more documents. The deed transfer. The purchase agreement. 6 years of mortgage payments. 6 years of property tax payments in my name. Homeowners insurance policies. Maintenance records. All of it in my name. Dad took the papers with shaking hands. Why didn't you tell us? I did tell you, I said. When I bought the house 6 years ago, we sat at this table and signed paperwork. You gave me the deed. We agreed you'd pay me $800 monthly in rent. You knew all of this. We thought. Mom's voice trailed off. You thought what? I asked gently. We thought the house was still ours, she whispered. That the paperwork was just formality. Estate planning or something. We didn't think you actually owned it. Tyler was scrolling through his phone frantically. I'm looking at the county property records right now. It says owner, Kira Chin. Purchase date, December 15, 2018. Purchase price, $425,000. That's impossible, Ashley said. How does Kira afford a $425,000 house? She works in tech support. I'm a senior software engineer at Data Core Systems, I corrected. I have been for 7 years. My salary is $165,000, plus stock options and bonuses. I put $85,000 down on this house, 20%, and I've been paying the mortgage ever since. My family stared at me like I'd revealed I was secretly a spy. $165,000? Tyler repeated. His own salary as a project manager was around $75,000. That's not possible. It's very possible, I said. You never asked about my job. You assumed something with computers meant low-level IT support. I never corrected you because it didn't seem to matter. Mom found her voice. But we've been living here. In our house. For 6 years. In my house, I corrected gently. Which I allowed because you're my parents and you gave me a discounted purchase price. The agreement was that you'd pay nominal rent and continue living here as long as you wanted. I never set an end date. The developer, Dad said slowly. The offer for $850,000. Doesn't exist, I said. Or if it does, it's irrelevant. You can't sell a house you don't own. I'm the only person who can sell this property and I haven't agreed to sell it. Tyler's face was red now. So you've been letting them think they own their own house for 6 years? That's manipulative. They signed purchase agreements, I said. They transferred the deed. They've been paying me rent every month. They knew, they just didn't want to believe it, so they convinced themselves it was something else. Why would you do this? Mom asked, tears forming. Why would you take our house? I didn't take it, I said, my patience fraying. You sold it to me. You were drowning in property taxes and maintenance costs. Dad's medical bills from his heart surgery had wiped out your savings. You were 3 months from foreclosure when I offered to buy the house and let you stay here as renters. The room went very quiet. The foreclosure, Dad said slowly. I'd forgotten about that. I know, I said. Because I fixed it. I paid off your mortgage. I took over all the expenses. I've been covering 90% of the housing costs while you paid a fraction in rent. You got to stay in your home without the financial burden. That was the gift. Ashley spoke up. But now you're going to evict them? Your own parents. I'm not evicting anyone, I said, exhausted. You are. You just announced that my parents are moving to Arizona and I need to get out by New Year. You made that plan without consulting the actual property owner. Tyler stood up, defensive. Well, if you own the house, you should have said something. You should have stopped them from accepting the developer's offer. What developer? I asked. Show me the offer letter. Show me any documentation of this sale. Dad and Mom exchanged glances. Neither produced any documents. There is no developer, I said. Or there was an unsolicited offer that you assumed you could accept. You never verified you had the legal right to sell. You just assumed this house was yours and moved forward with plans that included evicting me, the actual owner, from my own property. This is insane, Ashley muttered. What's insane, I said, my voice hardening, is planning someone's eviction on Christmas Eve. What's insane is giving me 1 week's notice to vacate. What's insane is treating me like an unwelcome guest in a house I've owned and paid for 6 years. Mom was crying now. We didn't know. We honestly didn't understand. You didn't want to understand, I corrected. Because understanding meant accepting that your daughter was more financially successful than you expected. It meant accepting that you needed my help. It was easier to pretend things were the way they used to be. So what happens now? Tyler demanded. You going to kick them out? Prove you're the big successful property owner. Now, I said, we're going to have the conversation we should have had 6 years ago, but with everyone finally understanding the reality of the situation. I sat back down and opened another section of my folder. Here are the facts. I own this house. I've paid $170,820 in mortgage payments over 6 years. I've paid $31,400 in property taxes. I've spent $18,000 on major repairs and maintenance. Mom and Dad have paid me $57,600 in rent over that same period. They've contributed about 16% of the actual housing costs. Tyler's calculator was out. That's more than $100,000 you've paid. Correct, I said. Because I'm the owner and that's what ownership costs. I've never complained because I bought this house knowing the full financial picture. But we're your parents, Mom said weakly. Exactly, I said. You're my parents. Which is why I bought your house when you were facing foreclosure. Why I let you stay here at below market rent. Why I never pressured you about the financial imbalance. I did all of that because I love you and I wanted you to feel secure. Then why are you doing this now? Dad asked. Why humiliate us like this? I'm not humiliating you, I said quietly. I'm correcting a misunderstanding before it caused serious problems. You were about to make commitments based on false assumptions. Selling a house you don't own, moving to Arizona, leaving me scrambling for housing. I had to stop that. Ashley had gone quiet, looking genuinely chastened. Tyler still looked angry but confused. So what do you want? Mom asked. You clearly have all the power here. I want, I said slowly, for us to make actual decisions based on reality. Do you genuinely want to move to Arizona? Or did you want to sell because you thought you owned a valuable asset? Mom and Dad looked at each other. We thought. Dad started. We thought we'd sell, take the money and retire comfortably. Linda's retirement community looked nice. We were excited. Excited about $850,000, I clarified. Which you thought was yours. Yes, Mom admitted. Here's what I'm willing to do, I said. If you genuinely want to move to Arizona, I'll buy you a condo there. Not an $850,000 one. Something reasonable, maybe $250,000. I'll put it in your names. It'll be yours, actually legally yours this time. You can retire there comfortably. They stared at me in shock. You'd do that? Dad whispered. On one condition, I said. You acknowledge openly and honestly that I own this house. That I've been supporting you financially. That I'm offering this Arizona condo as a gift, not as an obligation. I need you to stop pretending I'm your struggling daughter who needs guidance. I need you to see me as I actually am. The silence stretched long. Finally, Mom spoke. I'm sorry. I think we didn't want to admit we needed help from our own daughter. It was easier to not think about the details. We're proud of you, Dad added quietly. Maybe we didn't show it right. But we're proud. Tyler cleared his throat. I'm sorry too. I shouldn't have assumed. And I definitely shouldn't have talked about starter apartments and growing up. That was condescending. Ashley nodded. I was out of line. I'm sorry, Kira. I felt the tension in my shoulders ease slightly. Thank you. So what happens now? Mom asked. Do we move to Arizona? Do we stay here? That's up to you, I said. If you want Arizona, we'll make it happen. If you want to stay here, you can keep renting from me at the same rate. Either way, we'll establish clear terms and everyone will know exactly what the arrangement is. Can we think about it? Dad asked. This is a lot to process. Of course, I said. Take your time. There's no developer deadline, no pressure. Make the choice that's right for you, not based on money you thought you had. We sat in silence for a moment, the Christmas tree lights still twinkling obliviously. Tyler finally spoke. For what it's worth, that's really generous. The Arizona offer. Most people wouldn't do that after being treated the way we treated you tonight. You're my family, I said simply. I love you. Even when you're being ridiculous. Mom laughed, a little wetly. We were pretty ridiculous, weren't we? Spectacularly, I agreed. Planning someone's eviction during Christmas gift opening? That's a new level. Out by New Year, Dad repeated, shaking his head. We really said that. You really did. Ashley stood up. I'm getting more wine. I think we all need it. As she headed to the kitchen, Tyler turned to me. Why didn't you ever tell us? About your salary, your success, all of it. I tried, I said. But every time I mentioned my job, you changed the subject or made a comment about how tech stuff was boring. You had an idea of who I was, and information that contradicted it didn't fit, so you ignored it. That's not fair to you, he said. No, I agreed. It wasn't. Mom reached over and took my hand. We'll do better. We promise. I'd like that, I said. We spent the rest of Christmas Eve talking honestly for the first time in years. About my career, about their finances, about family dynamics and assumptions that had calcified over time. My parents ultimately decided to stay in Riverside. Arizona was appealing, but leaving friends and familiarity felt too drastic. I drew up a formal lease agreement. Proper paperwork, clear terms, everything documented. Tyler started asking about my work and actually listening to the answers. Ashley apologized 3 more times. We're rebuilding our relationship on actual truth now instead of comfortable fictions. The mortgage statements still arrive every month, addressed to me. The property tax bills come in my name. And everyone finally knows who really owns Christmas. And the house where we celebrate it. They planned my eviction during gift opening. The mortgage statements made them drop their assumptions instead. And we're all better for it,